On a rainy summer night in 1899, a railroad engineer powers a locomotive carrying passengers, mail, and other wares through the Wyoming prairie. Through the darkness, he spots two lanterns signaling an emergency stop. He brakes just in time. Instead of helpful rail workers, two masked men reveal pistols and announce that he is being robbed. Even more men board the train, and after 2 hours of chaos and explosions, the bandits escape with $30,000. He just experienced a hit from Butch Cassidy and the Wild Bunch Gang.
Welcome to Heist Club, where we've got a new heist story coming at you each week. We're here to uncover the details behind some of the most audacious and ridiculous robberies of all time. How they pulled it off, how they got caught, and the mysteries that remain. Bank heists, art heists, diamond heists, and other capers you won't believe. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Todd.
Welcome to the club.
Hello, Heist Clubbers. Today, we venture back in time to the American frontier in the late 19th century. Cattle ranching, mining, and homesteading are the ways of life in the unforgivable climate of the Old West. And of course, we can't forget about one staple of the frontier, rough and tumble bandits. So this week, Jesse and I talk about the one-of-a-kind Butch Cassidy. And later in the episode, we'll have a chat about certifiable badass Butch with Ben Thompson, who is the host of Badass of the Week, a podcast of his own. So, Jesse, we have our first guest on Heist Club. It's a momentous. I can't talk. I'm so excited. I can't even use the right words. It's a I can't talk.
It's Mentos.
It's
a fresh maker.
It's a Mentos moment in the history of the podcast.
Yeah, it's time for a Mentos moment.
Time
Our
for a
sponsor
Mentos
for
moment.
Today.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we had a sponsor today, it would be Mentos. Mentos, if you're out there, if you're still producing your fine product, here we are, Heist Club, just waiting for you.
Momentous.
But I'm excited to have a guest on. It'd be fun to have a third voice in the room. We're not replacing you, Jesse. We're not replacing me. But maybe he's replacing both of us. No, just a guest for the day. Just a guest.
Yeah. The twist will be we're handing off the show to him like Willy Wonka.
And actually, Ben doesn't even know that yet. So it could be a surprise for everyone.
Exactly, yeah.
Ben, how much do you like your podcast? Would you want a second one?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's going to be good.
Yeah, so everyone stay tuned for that. But we'll start with our own story of Butch. So let's get into it. Believe it or not, Butch Cassidy is not his birth name. Shocker. We know.
Too good to be true.
Too good to be true. Such a good name. He was born Robert Leroy Parker on April 13th, 1866, the oldest of 13 children. So it's a big family. Would have had a TLC show if it was a more modern family. His parents arrived in Utah in the 1850s as Mormon pioneers and built a ranch in the small town of Circleville. What shape do we think Circleville was?
Hexagon.
A hexagonal town called Circleville.
Yeah.
It's
like Greenland and Iceland.
Yes, that's right. It's not what you expect.
Yeah.
And Circleville is still a small town today. The 2020 census recorded 550 residents.
Whoa.
So maybe slightly famous because Butch was born there, but not famous enough to get more than 550 residents.
Yeah, there might be different tourist attractions for Butch that don't bring people to Circleville.
That's right. It's like they just keep driving, or they stay on the train and just keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those who know young Robert all agree he's a good Mormon boy and a hard worker. One friend, Josie Bassett, called him, quote, a big dumb kid who liked to joke.
Hey, that's me. I feel seen.
You and Robert Leroy Parker have a long common, Jesse. I've always said that. Always said that.
Thank you.
At 13, Robert works on surrounding ranches to provide additional financial support for his family. Well, he's age 13. There's 13 kids. They definitely need the financial support. In 1880, not 1980, I'm not jumping forward 100 years. That'd be quite a shocker. In 1980, things did happen in 1980. Nothing to do with Butch, as far as we know.
His great-great-grandchild
That's right,
walks into a bank. Yeah.
Jesse Cassidy. No. In 1880, a teenage Robert shows his natural thieving talents by picking a store's lock for a new pair of jeans and a slice of pie. I forgot about the pie. I remember the jeans.
What more do you need?
Yeah, he was hungry. Picking that lock really creates an appetite. Robert did leave an IOU note on his way out, promising to pay on his next visit. The store owner presses charges anyway, but the jury acquits him, And it really is his first successful heist, whether fully intentional or not. I mean, you're picking a lock. You think that you're stealing something, but also then why even leave the IOU note? But the IOU note was left and Robert got away with it and seemingly didn't have to pay. So that's a heist, baby.
Yeah, it's a good origin story. Formative years of Robert.
Don't know if we've seen jeans as the origin story before, you know?
It all started with a pair of jeans and a slice of pie.
And then the first heist really laid the foundation for his thieving style. Fast, clean, and surprisingly polite. So, there's a movie about Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. Not surprised to hear us reference this. I think we've even referenced it before in the podcast. Maybe it wasn't necessary to reference it. But which makes sense because Paul Newman was quite a handsome man and he is a gentleman. He is funny. He's pretty affable. And it does seem like that is true to who the actual Robert/Butch really was.
Yeah, I think it was well cast for sure.
And maybe if Robert/Butch was not that way, that's still how the character would have been because that's who Robert Redford is. And it's entertaining and he's too handsome to be mean. That's right. A few years later, though, while working on a dairy ranch, Robert meets Mike Cassidy, an older ranch hand and cattle thief who quickly becomes his pseudo-father figure and personal hero. Mike teaches him how to shoot, ride, and the art of altering cattle brands. I like that we're calling it an art. His final lesson to Robert is done through demonstration. When the law comes knocking, you better book it out of there, which seems very apt and true for Robert's life, as you see in the movie and as you see in the stories we're going to tell today. So Robert follows his lead in 1884 when he turns 18. He puts Mike's lessons into practice in the booming mining town of Telluride, Colorado. He picks off cattle from large barons and steals their horses too. Perhaps it's easier stealing from a large herd as it's less noticeable, or it's more fun sticking it to the big businessmen herding smaller ranches. That's right, like doing it for good, Robin Hood-esque maybe. Not necessarily giving them to people in need, but still stealing from the richer. And he doesn't spend much time in one place, frequenting Wyoming and Montana territories too. And then Robert returns to Telluride in 1887, working odd jobs in the mines and ranches. And this is when he meets Matt Warner, an outlaw, does a little bit of everything. A farmer, rancher, cattle rustler, bootlegger, ferryman, bank robber, and cop. I don't think I looked into cop enough.
Which one of these is not like the other?
Yeah, playing both sides. Maybe it's smart to be the cop, That helps him get away with everything. But wow, well, what an interesting man you are, Matt Warner. And Matt has a racehorse named Betty. Whether it was legally obtained, we don't know. And he and Robert make a pretty penny off her winnings.
During their little tour, Matt introduces Robert to his friend, Tom McCarty, who he robbed a bank with in a couple months prior. With all the talk of how easy it was, of course Robert wants in on the next one. For the target, they're going back to Telluride for the San Miguel Valley Bank. Even though Robert has plenty of experience in heisting, the jeans heist, the infamous pair of jeans and pie, Tom takes the lead and shows him the ropes on how it's done. They also have a little arts and crafts night together. Using their cattle ranching skills, they construct leather bags to carry all their loot. Adorable.
This is like another path that Robert could have taken in life, right? He could have just sold leather bags and made his career that way, but that's not what his heart wanted.
Yeah. Tom knows that robbing the bank will be the easiest part. The escape is another story. For his plan to work, he needs a lot of horses. I don't know why I wanted to say it like that. On June 22nd, 1889, the trio rides into Telluride. Riding into Telluride. I like wordplay too much. Yeah. 2 days later, Robert and Matt stroll into the bank and draw their guns, a silent hello to the teller, and demand cash. They stuff their bags with $21,000, which is $740,000 today. Tom waits for them outside with their horses, and the trio books it at a town. Tom waits. Is it in the script?
Waits. That's right.
For the record.
Tom, lowercase waits.
Tom waits.
Wait,
for them
Tom Waits was alive in
horses.
1889? What a long and extensive... I mean, the funny thing is Tom Waits would totally fit in 1889. I would not be surprised to see him just standing on the corner near a saloon or a bank.
I think Tom Waits was never born and will never die.
Well, Tom waits for no one.
I'm sure he's never had these jokes told to him before.
Well, they're new to us at least.
Yeah, for sure. We never thought about his last name until now. Remember when we said that Tom needed a lot of horses for his plan? Here's why. For their own criminal Pony Express. He has horses waiting for them at checkpoints. A witness recalls that several weeks prior to the heist, he saw Robert spend hours training his horse to remain still while he ran at it and leapt onto its back. That sounds like quite a workout and a cool trick.
Yeah, my butt would hurt a little after all that. I don't know. Everything would hurt.
I don't even want to do a plank, let alone just imagine doing that 5 times. Like, that sounds crazy.
I can't do that. No way.
With his share, Robert buys a ranch on the outskirts of Du Bois, Wyoming.
Du Bois.
Du Bois are back in town.
Yes, they are.
He also changes his surname from Parker to Cassidy. I was like, even back then, people wanted a stage name.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, my image.
Well, probably actually, did it actually make more sense then, though? Because now people do it just to like, oh, that's a better name as an actor or singer. Then it's like you literally don't want them to know who you are, right? You're trying to get away with crimes. So
that's a good point. You're changing it. It's not like changing your name to get more famous. It's changing your name to get less famous. You're right.
Yeah. Or to have 2 different versions of yourself, the famous version and then the version that could, still visit your family and show your face around there.
Yeah. Wait, was this pre-social media? I can't remember.
1889? We'll have our producer look that up. I can't remember.
Yeah,
either.
I can't remember when Facebook came out. It might be
actually,
around then.
should we call Tom Waits and ask him, hey, Tom, can you tell us about 1889? How big was Friendster?
Talk about your top 8, please. So he changed his name, both to honor his old friend and mentor and to protect his family's reputation. That's nice of him looking out for his family.
There you go.
When he needs to lay down, he sleeps in a bed.
He finds a bed. But I don't know
really
why we're
interesting.
Don't know. we're getting into every detail here. When he needs to sit, he finds a chair.
A chair.
Okay, but that's stuff about that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, he probably didn't sleep in a bed. He probably slept in the
dirt,
field,
right? You're
under
right.
the moon.
Yeah, he was a man. He was a man's man. He slept on the ground, in the dirt, on a rock.
He doesn't need a roof. When he needs to lay low for a bit, he takes a job as a butcher's apprentice. Matt Warner finds Robert's alias quite amusing and calls him Butcher, Butch for short. Robert later said that Warner thought it was a big joke. Big joke or not, the name sticks. In 1894, the law catches up to Robert, now Butch, but not for what you'd expect. Despite having robbed a bank for $20,000, what does him in is a $5 horse, $180 today, that he steals from another rancher. Butch manages to get out of his 2-year prison sentence 6 months early, appearing for the governor and promising he will not rob anyone in Wyoming again. If prison taught him anything, it's that cattle rustling is a high-risk, low-reward racket. If he wants to keep his fast-paced, exciting outlaw life, he should do what he got away with successfully, stealing cash from the big guys. We'll be right back.
Be right back. Welcome back. Butch Cassidy just got out of prison for equine thievery, and with his new stage name, he decides to go full bank robber outlaw. Butch has a lot of criminal friends, as evidenced by Matt Warner casually inviting him to his bank robbery. But like everyone, he has a BFF, a burglary BFF, if you would. William Ellsworth Lay, nicknamed Elsie. Like Butch, LZ is a strategist and a natural leader who left home at 18 in search of adventure. I don't remember LZ being in the movie or them really calling him out as much, but...
You don't remember a strategist and a natural leader?
Yeah. It's just like, we can only have so many leaders in the movie, right? We can't take away from Butch's leadership by having another leader. That's not how, That's not how movies work.
Only 2 handsome men per Western movie.
Yeah, or they got to fight it out and duke it out to see who the real leader is. Which actually, that does happen in Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. So
yeah,
but that character wasn't LZ. Oh, anyway, okay. It wasn't a documentary, I don't know if you've seen the documentary about Butch Cassidy and Butch Cassidy. It was filmed on really old timey cameras, and Tom Waits does all the music.
Yeah, and Werner Herzog did it, right? He was
Yes.
also alive back then with Tom Waits, for
Yeah,
sure.
It's all Werner voiceover and raw footage of.
To be a cowboy.
Yes, this is where Butch and I disagree, for he thinks that man is good, and I. Okay, anyway, yeah, we'll see how that reference goes. Anyway, back to the gang. So together, Butch and LZ hit a bank in 1896, making off with $7,000, which is $249,000 today, and a payroll delivery in 1897, escaping with $8,800, which is $313,000 today. So they're doing pretty well. This is more than just a pair of jeans now.
More than a pair of jeans.
They kept the same beats: stake out the place, always be polite, and use a horse relay for the fastest escape. I guess they kind of, like them with Matt, they kind of developed this horse relay system, which is actually quite smart and a, nice good way to not get caught. Outrun the police as they come for you, the coppers.
It's a pretty neat party trick, jumping on a horse.
If you could do it. LZ and Butch hide out at Robber's Roost and Hole in the Wall, which are both geologic formations that outlaws use to stay out of the reach of lawmen. Kind of create the kind of like natural in that way where it's hard to get in. There's not many ways to get in or get out. And news of Butch's back-to-back successes spreads through the outlaw superhighway, and everyone wants in. So he got a crew now. Ben Kilpatrick, also known as the Tall Texan, a friend of LZ's, standing on a prominent 6'2" with piercing yellow eyes. So he's piercing in a handsome way or piercing in a run the other way kind of way?
In a scary giant cat kind of way.
She's a giant, yeah. The Tall Texan, also a giant cat. We forgot to mention the fur. William News Carver, News is the nickname here, always got excited whenever he saw his name in the newspaper. That's how he got that nickname. George Flatnose Curry, wonder how he got that name. So Flatnose is an experienced bank robber with a poorly healed broken nose. Then there's Harvey Kid Curry Logan. He's referred to as the wildest of the Wild Bunch, allegedly killing 11 men. And the name Kid Curry comes from his close relationship with George Flatnose, whose last name was Curry, and even though we called him Flatnose. Then we got a couple more to go. There's Harvey Ray, who's a Scottish immigrant with a thick accent and even thicker mustache. And then, of course, you've all been waiting for it, we have Harry Longbaugh, the Sundance Kid. So Longbaugh was caught stealing a horse in Sundance, Wyoming, and did 18 months in jail. He used his conviction as inspiration, calling himself the Sundance Kid. He's more brawn over brain, the muscle who enforces Butch's plan, which is also very true to how the movie goes. He's the great sharpshooter, can go at a moment's notice, but Butch keeps him in check, and together they make quite the pair. And so Butch Cassidy's gang, the Wild Bunch, is born. The gang may be hated by bankers, railroad barons, and lawmen, but a lot of the common folk sure love him. People return Butch's friendliness with horses and shelter for the bandits because he's stealing from the big guys. And when not hiding out in someone's ranch, they camp out at Robber's Roost and Hole in the Wall, like we said before, for their winter hibernation because one of them's a cat, so they have to have a winter hibernation. No. But they're not having a bad time at all when laying low. In fact, they love to party. During one party, the Wild Bunch dresses waiters, serving drinks and filling coffee cups. So they're kind of baristas as well. Whether that term existed then or not, I do not know. The charismatic Butch Cassidy freezes with stage fright, though, during this performance. He could hold him at bank all day, but performing a bit with friends, that's where he draws the line. So it was not made for kind of sketch comedy, for improv.
That is really funny to me. Like, oh, no, I don't know, guys. I don't know. You guys just do it. You guys just do it.
What do waiters say? What do waiters say? I don't know.
I don't know. No, it's not even funny. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I'm not funny like you guys.
Walks to a corner, sulks a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just want to go up on this cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, Butch Cassidy and the Wild Bunch are riding high. Why not add a new locale on their to-rob list? They've already robbed people getting off a train. What if they hopped on the train instead?
Whoa. What an idea. When the Reno gang executed the first ever moving train robbery in 1866, listen to our episode on that, they triggered a string of train robberies across the frontier. It was like all the other outlaws saw this and thought, wait a second, we can do that? So of course, Butch Cassidy wants in on the fun. His target is a Union Pacific Overland Flyer. In Butch Cassidy fashion, the gang isn't going in blind. He spends months learning the train schedule with help from a saloon keeper and former conductor for Union Pacific. This time, instead of opting for the state line, he prefers this heist to be as remote as possible. He chooses the Wilcox station, miles away from the nearest city. They will take advantage of the cover of night for an easy getaway. Once winter melts into spring, the gang meets up and Butch calls them all to action.
I will say this is so it's months of planning, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Again, I think in the movies in general, it often feels like the gang is just walking into a desolate town and they see a bank and they look at each other and then they just go and rob it, right?
Yeah, or it just kind of cuts to them doing it. Yeah. It's like, let's do this.
Yeah, and we know from heist in general how much planning can go in. Months, years, whatever it might be, casing the joint, inside info. But again, movies don't normally show that part of the Old West. So, again, think of Butch being a strategizer and a smart leader, and this really speaks to that.
Yeah, there might be a planning scene, but it is a 2-minute scene, like one afternoon, not months of planning,
And I do get how, in general movies, you can't have that scene go on too long. But again, there are other bank robbery movies where we see them literally act it out and recreate the scene somewhere else, and it is a good amount of screen time. But yeah, not as much in westerns.
Yeah, I guess you don't want to spend the whole movie 8 months of talking about what you're going to do.
That's right.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Okay, so on May 24th, 1899, Butch puts the plan in motion. They purchase 500 rounds of ammo, hundreds of pounds of dynamite, and borrow horses from willing ranchers who promise to pay with whatever goods they get. When buying the dynamite, Flatnose Curry tells the dealer he wants enough power to blow Christ off the cross with dynamite. I need to use that phrase more when I'm
Jesse,
using
you say that
dynamite.
all the time. I always hear you say, enough to blow Christ off the cross with dynamite.
With materials purchased, horses at the ready, and plans set, the Wild Bunch readies for their most daring heist yet. It's a rainy night on June 2nd, 1899, making visibility even lower in the vast darkness of Wyoming. At 2:14 a.m., Butch and Harry the Sundance Kid ride up to a wooden bridge over a river just a mile west of the Wilcox train station. They unload their sacks of dynamite and stuff as much as they can fit into the cracks and supports of the bridge. Then they don masks made of napkins courtesy of the Harvey House restaurant they visited that evening. Then they wait with signal lanterns as the faint light of the locomotive brightens. When it's close enough, they flag it down. The engineer, Grindstone Jones, maybe my favorite name in this episode.
Grindstone Jones. There's a lot of good names in this episode, too. So Grindstone's your favorite? Not Flatnose Curry?
No, Grindstone Jones. I like words that rhyme.
Yeah, we've learned that about you. That's right.
As we've established earlier in the episode. So the engineer, Grindstone Jones, fearing that the bridge may have washed away in the storm, forces the train carrying 300 passengers to stop and meet the strangers who are strangely masks. Not strangers, strangely masks. Once on the train, the Sundance Kid draws his pistol and proudly announces, "You motherfuckers, you are robbed." Was that a good impression?
That was good. It sounded just like Redford. That's how Redford played in the movie when he said, "You motherfuckers, you are robbed." I remember him saying that. Yeah. Then we got an X rating, I think, just for that line.
Yeah, I mean, it was worth it, I think. No, it's PG, actually, which is funny. But that movie's PG. Butch takes a calmer approach and simply orders the train forward onto the bridge and then stop again. He chose the bridge setting for a reason. What better way to isolate your mark than to block any attempts at rescue? Once parked on the bridge, Butch ignites the dynamite. He orders the engineer to pull ahead and be quick about it. And he better be quick, or they will be sending 300 passengers to their deaths. Ta-da! The train barely clears the bridge when the explosion comes, but Butch isn't done messing with Grindstone. Don't mess with Grindstone.
Grindstone Jones? Who messes with Grindstone Jones? Butch does, I guess.
With Grindstone Jones.
Grindstone versus Butch. See, again, two manly men.
Oh, yeah. Butch orders the train forward 2 miles where the rest of the gang waits. Tom waits? Okay.
Is Tom Waits a part of the gang now?
Yeah, with Werner Herzog.
Yes.
They stop at the mail car first, and Butch calls for the mail clerk inside to open the car, who refuses. Probably because the gang rudely interrupted his nap. He tells them the door is tough and there is no way they will get through. Kid Curry takes this as the ultimate offense and threatens to shoot Grindstone Jones if the mail clerk refuses to obey. "Kill the fool, Bill," he shouts, possibly talking to News Carver. He fires his shotgun through the wood door, narrowly missing a crew member. But Flatnose Curry talks him down. Flatnose remains by Kid Curry's side to keep him cool, which turns out to be a hefty job when you're up against the wildest of the wild bunch. They try picking the lock on the mail car. 15 minutes go by, and they aren't any closer to getting inside. Sundance fires another round through the door and shouts, "Come out of there, we'll blow you out!" It ricochets into a boiler tank, sending out steam. The crew hunkers down even more.
I have to say this can't have been a part of Butch's plan. Butch, plans these things for months in advance, is known for getting in and out quickly and being very polite about it. And for some reason, the Wild Bunch just keeps shooting in the car, potentially hitting people, hitting a boiler tank. This is a little out of control. It's a little out of control. He can't have been happy.
This is not the plan we've been talking about for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like threatening people and blowing things up.
This is not step 7 in the plan. What are you fools doing?
Harvey Ray, just as hot-headed as Kid Curry, itches to use that extra dynamite. We know that Harvey was there because of accounts from confused crew members wondering why a Scottish man was there. A Scottish man? In America?
Why, yeah. Are Scots not allowed to be? I mean, maybe this weren't common in the Wild West at that time, but...
Yeah.
I love that they knew his accent, though. They knew the Scottish accent well enough to know why is there a Scotsman here.
I know, that's funny. It's so rare.
But wondering why that's there. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they didn't know. Maybe they're just like, that guy sounded crazy.
He's the dynamite expert. There's always the dynamite expert. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They blow the door down and for good measure throw giant powder, name brand explosives, into the car. The threat of an explosion causes the crew member to surrender. One offers his wallet, but the gang refuses to take it. Good on them. But it turns out to be a waste of dynamite as the mail car is awash.
All of that for mail, basically.
Yeah. Great plan, y'all. You guys talked about this so much.
Sometimes months of planning is maybe not that helpful in the end. It just
doesn't seem like there's any planning.
Yeah. I mean, we know from before that Butch was not good at improv comedy or improv performances. But I think we're about to learn he's pretty good at improving when it comes to heisting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to find out right now. Again, Kid Curry is all about shooting the crew, but lucky for them, Butch is not a killer. Please don't murder people. Shockingly, no one in the passenger car wakes up from the commotion. Everyone's just passed out. Grindstone Jones is again ordered to move the train forward, but he lies and says the train won't start. That was the last straw for Kid Curry, who attacks him with his fists. And Flatnose pulls him off Jones, saying, "Hold there. We don't want any killing about this."
So he's more worried about the fists than the shooting at this point. I mean, yeah, I guess Kid Curry can kill in multiple ways.
Don't punch him to death with your murder fists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are for holding guns.
Yeah. Butch and the gang move down to the express car, which is almost guaranteed to hold cash, gold, and jewelry. Butch grabs the express car messenger, Charles Woodcock, and orders him to open the door. He also refuses.
By the way, I feel a little bad for Charles Woodcock that he doesn't have a nickname. It feels like everyone, even the engineer of the train has a nickname, Grindstone, but Charles Woodcock, the car messenger, maybe he's known as Charlie, but still, like, no real nickname to speak of.
And Woodcock is a great last name to go with a nickname.
You can do so much with that.
But he refuses to open the door. But that's okay, because they have more dynamite. They blow the door open and ask Charles, who is now concussed, the safe code. He can't give them a clear answer, so it looks like they're using dynamite yet again. Perhaps to appease Kid Curry's thirst for destruction, or to distract him from killing anyone in sight, they let him do the honors. A safe door has to be stronger than a simple train car door, so they pile on 2 bushels of dynamite, which is 20 sticks, I knew that, obviously, to make sure the door is open.
I'm not sure I knew it was called bushels. Bushels, we think of certain kinds of fruit, right? But bushels of dynamite, how quaint, how cute.
I know. Yeah, you think, dynamite will solve all the problems, right? Mm-hmm. The safe door certainly opens, as well as the walls and the roof of the car. Do they walk away with the cash, or even their lives? Find out after the break.
Welcome back, Heist Clubbers. When the very concussed express car manager can't open the safe, Butch and the gang take matters into their own hands and load it up with 20 sticks of dynamite. A bushel of dynamite, if you would. They get the safe open, but also blow the entire car to bits in the process. Original news reports say the gang, quote, blew it to atoms. And we have some pictures. That's right, they had photography in the late 19th century. We have pictures of a train car, which is like, the middle of that car is just falling to pieces, barely held together.
That looks about 26 of dynamite, I would say.
That's about 20. I was going to say 19, but no, you're probably right, 20. I think that's right.
Couple bushels, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we also have a picture of the safe, which is shockingly okay. I mean, it's damaged on the outside, but we have a picture of this. It's not open. So it didn't exactly do the job perfectly. Banknotes and cash fly like confetti. Everyone else is dazed and covered in soot and cuts and bruises. Shockingly, no one is seriously injured, though poor Charles Woodcock is probably even more concussed. So maybe he does have a nickname. Maybe he's now Sleepy or something. He finally got a nickname. You're welcome, Charles.
Sneezy or, Grumpy, one of those seven
He's
dwarfs.
probably all of those. After being blown up with 20 pieces of dynamite nearby, he's probably all of those things.
He's all the seven dwarves in one.
He's grumpy, he's sleepy, maybe he's sneezy. I don't know. Maybe he's allergic to soot. Yeah. There is one fatality we must mention, a pet bird whose only evidence of its existence was some charred feathers in a metal cage. That feels very cartoony. That's all be left.
Yeah, just one feather floating down slowly.
Slowly floating down, exactly.
Yep.
And if it was a full cartoon, then like Charles Woodcock would pull a feather out of his mouth and look at it. But that didn't happen as far as we know.
Did Charles Woodcock eat the bird?
Oh, is that what happened? Sylvester the cat. That's Charles's new nickname.
He was so concussed that he ate a bird.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't know what was going on.
I don't even know who I was anymore. I thought it was a Tom and Jerry situation. The Wild Bunch scrambles to gather the surviving loot before lawmen arrive. By 4:15 a.m., they make off with cash, banknotes, 19 scarf pins, gotta get those scarf pins, 29 gold-plated cuff button pairs, and 4 Elgin watches. I grew up in a street named Elgin. I'm going to pretend I know what Elgin watches are. Let's just say they're fancy, right? The estimated value was $30,000, which is $1.7 million today. However, Union Pacific believes the loss was actually upwards of $50,000, which would be $1.9 million today. Don't know if they're saying that because of insurance reasons or if it's just the proper estimated value, but
this is an obvious observation, but reading this, I was thinking like a suitcase of cash was a way bigger deal back then.
Oh, yeah.
Because the bill just goes way further.
That's true.
You know? It's like, this is like $1 million instead of a few thousand. It's just kind of wild to me.
Yeah.
It's like easier and lighter to get more money.
So when we're looking at currency over time, suitcase of cash is not a consistent measure that we could value by.
You said it better than me. Correct.
If this was an economics course or something. Back to the story. Shortly after they leave, Jones fires off a telegram. Express car blown open, mail car damaged, safe blown open, contents gone. That is an efficient usage of words for a telegram, right? You get to pay per word. So we don't need is, we don't need was. It's just bare facts. The bare facts.
You got the point across.
Just the facts, ma'am. In typical Wild Bunch fashion, they use horse relays to outrun the lawmen, who arrive at the scene 5 hours later, so a lot later. Butch pays the ranchers who loaned the horses with stolen watches. So there's where the Elgin watches go. To the ranchers. Thank you very much, Butch. But the high of that success is tanked the next month when LZ kills a sheriff in a shootout and receives a life sentence in prison. With the capture of his best friend, Butch approaches the governor of Utah to negotiate an amnesty and possibly buy LZ's release from prison using the train robbery money. The governor accepts as long as Union Pacific agrees to drop their criminal complaints. But Butch can't help himself and robs another train in August 1900. That's how much he thinks about LZ. He didn't really mean it, did he? Still a good guy? Still a good guy? I don't know. Among the craziness, Butch pulls together a classic Wild Bunch bank robbery in Nevada. Locals flock to his campsite, a local ranch, to meet the famous thief. The story goes the ranch owner's son tells Butch that he likes his horse, and Butch, after giving him candy, tells him he might give it to him someday. Right after the robbery, as he dismounts his horse for a fresh one, he instructs the cowboy to give the horse to that boy. It's like signing a baseball today, signing a baseball, then handing it off to a fan. Here's my horse. Did he sign the horse? That's the question. Did he sign the horse?
Just painted the horse's name.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Just a bunch of if it was Blazing Saddles, just be like a marker on the side of a horse, and it's all scribbles and scrabbles, and but you could that's Butch's autograph. After that robbery, the Wild Bunch splits up. Butch, Sundance Kid, Harry, as we said before, Will Carver, Ben Kilpatrick, and Harvey Kid Curry Logan go to Fort Worth, Texas to visit the brothels, becoming a not safe for work story. And in November of 1900, they decided to take a formal portrait as a joke. Hilarious. We love taking pictures of jokes.
Joke.
Man, notorious prankster.
Wouldn't it be funny if we got our picture taken together?
Let's take a picture taken, man. That'd be crazy, man. We have a picture here. Pretty classic, old-timey Western photo. Again, if you watch Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, they have that great montage where they just use photographs from the time. Like there's no actual video or filmed action. It's just photograph to photograph. That's really, they match this sepia tone, if you would. So in the photo, we have standing left to right, and we'll post this to our show notes on Instagram and social media. We have William News Carver and Kid Curry Logan in the back. And then sitting, we have Sundance Kid, Ben Kilpatrick, and then Butch Cassidy. So, Butch they're not the scariest of looking of guys across the board, especially Butch. Butch kind of looks like the nicest of the bunch.
Yeah, he looks pretty unassuming. Yeah, I would not guess that was Butch.
Yeah. So the photo was supposed to be a joke, but it's actually a big mistake, a huge one. They just unwittingly designed their wanted posters, which seems very true, right? You can't just have like a crude drawing, and all of a sudden you literally have this really well-portraited photo of yourself.
Right.
The famed Pinkerton Detective Agency plasters it all over the West. Butch sees this as a sign to do like Mike Cassidy said and get out of Dodge. He read somewhere that Argentina has cattle ranches and open land for miles. Harry, the Sundance Kid, wants to go too and takes his wife Etta along as well. Etta, who is a prominent character in the movie. They buy a ranch, stock it with cattle and sheep, build a log cabin. Butch calls them his little family of three, happily ever after, right? 5 years of calm. It's pretty good. They went straight for 5 years. But 5 years of calm are broken by the Pinkertons, who deliver the Fort Worth 5 photos to police stations, banks, and government buildings all across Argentina. The little family of three has no choice but to run. And even worse, Butch and Harry are back to bank robbing, this time in broken Spanish, as we also see in the movie in very entertaining sequences. By 1908, Harry and Butch live in Bolivia now, and Etta has returned home. Can't be a part of this anymore. After a failed robbery, they ride into the little town of San Vicente to rest, but their mule wears the brand of the mining company they just robbed, and the boarding house manager eyes them suspiciously. So are they caught? We shall see. Even though he was known for keeping his cool, Butch Cassidy sure knew how to go out in a blaze of glory, and it goes a little something like this. Once the boarding house owner realizes he's most likely housing the famous American bandits, he tells the telegraph officer, who contacts the cavalry regiment stationed nearby. So the army is coming. They are definitely not letting them get away this time. On top of sending 3 soldiers, the police chief, the local mayor, and other city officials go to the boarding house. And upon their arrival, Butch and Harry open fire from the inside, immediately killing 1 soldier and wounding another. The ensuing gunfight lasts several hours, and around 2 a.m., the mayor hears screams coming from the house, then 2 gunshots, and dead silence follows. They wait several more hours before investigating. Perhaps paranoia was just a trap. Butch was smart after all. But this time, there was no master plan and strategic escape. Waiting inside are 2 bodies riddled with bullet wounds, laying in a pool of blood. So unlike the movie where you feel like they die in a blaze of glory and run out shooting and it freezes. So did they make it? Did they not? Freeze frame, anything's possible with an army of hundreds shooting at them. In real life, they took their own lives, it seems. Harry sports a bullet wound in the middle of his forehead, while Butch wears one on his temple, either to end their agony or to avoid capture, which was finally upon them, or both. Butch likely shot Harry before turning his gun on himself. Quite an ending. The Bolivian authorities bury them in a small cemetery in San Vicente, closing the curtain on the story of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. But what if it wasn't the end? There are theories, as there so often are. Here at Heist Club, we love a fun conspiracy theory. Not so much so that we don't believe in facts, but we still believe a fun conspiracy theory. And like many celebrity deaths, there's a sector of people who say they faked their deaths to start fresh, which would be super impressive. Josie Bassett claimed Butch visited her in the 1920s and died in Nevada in the 1930s. Others from his hometown also said that he worked in Nevada until his death. His great-nephew said Butch returned to Circleville several times to visit his family. He missed that hexagon life. Even his sister said with certainty he came back in the 1920s, and at one occasion he ate blueberry pie.
What?
It's a very specific memory.
You can't eat blueberry pie if you're dead. This must be true.
He must be alive. No one would lie about the pie, because it rhymes.
You can't lie about pie.
Yeah. These rumors are fueled by the fact that an attempt in 1991 to find the graves in Bolivia failed to produce a DNA match. Okay. Maybe they're looking in the wrong grave. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons for that, but okay.
Yeah.
And all searches in Nevada and the Parkers' old property came up as a negative match or an incomplete DNA profile. So basically, there's no proof in the DNA in Bolivia, but also no proof in Nevada and back in the States. So whether Butch died in Bolivia or faked his death and returned to the States, we may never have a true answer. One descendant confirmed this by saying, "My great-grandmother, Butch's little sister Lula, was very clear. She said that where he was buried and under what name was a family secret, that he was chased all his life and now he had a chance to finally rest in peace. And that's the way it must be." Quite a life.
Yeah. I mean, the conspiracy theory is a little convincing, but yeah, I don't know.
I think people want to believe it. Like in the movie, right? You want to believe that Butch and Sundance got out because it's just a more fun story and also very likable characters. But you know what? So before we bring on Ben from Badass of the Week to talk a little more about Butch and this crazy life he led, let's do our diamond rating before we bring Ben in. Jesse, where are you at?
If I'm just basing it on the train, we're going 1, you know?
Well, but they did walk away with $30,000, maybe $50,000, which is almost $2 million today. And they got away with it for a long time. I mean, I guess they died in a hail of bullets later, but it also wasn't just because of that Union Pacific robbery. That was a lifelong crime. The Pinkertons were chasing them for a long time.
Yeah, no, I guess they planned for months and then they got the money.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like, for all the months of planning, it did not go off without a hitch. It went off with many hitches, and many of those hitches were caused by bushels of dynamite.
Yes, many hitches on the train.
It's tricky because in a lot of our episodes, the heist they pull off is sometimes really impressive, and then the getting away with it is not at all because they had no plan. They get caught quickly. In this case, they did steal what they planned to steal, and only a bird died.
And who cares about them?
And yeah, we're not animal lovers on this podcast. So it didn't go perfectly, but they got what they wanted and they rode away and, they enjoyed their winnings for a long time. They made it to South America until they ran out of money down there and they had to start robbing again. I'm going to go 4 stars. We can't go 5 because it's not a perfect heist, but
no,
they were good at this. They had the gang to pull it off. I mean, again, I know there's a lot of quibbles to mount about how they did it. So maybe 4 is too high, but I'm going to stick with my 4. I give Butch Cassidy the Sundance Kid 5 diamonds. That's the movie. I give the train robbery 4 stars.
I'll bump mine up to 3, I guess.
Okay.
That sounds right.
At least we're different. At least there's a difference of opinion. At least we're giving our listeners something to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we're going to welcome author and podcast host Ben Thompson to Heist Club, our first ever guest. Ben's books include the Guts and Glory series, as well as Badass the Book. He is the host of the Badass of the Week podcast, in which I was very honored to be a guest myself. Thank you, Ben. Now, we discussed Butch Cassidy as well, but Ben and I covered other aspects of his life. So check out that episode. Check out that episode of Badass of the Week. And Jesse and I are now honored to talk a little bit more Butch with Ben today. Ben, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I was going to say this is the first time I've been a guest on another podcast since I started Badass, although I think that might not entirely be true, but you're
we're going to pretend it's true. Jesse and I, we want to feel special, and it makes us feel special. But
great,
we swear we know it's the truth when we say you are our first guest. That is absolutely the truth. No lies about it.
You're my favorite podcast I've ever been on. How about that?
There you go. We'll see how it goes. But
we'll take it.
Sweet of you to say that. As part of our intro to you, just so our listeners can hear this though, but before even getting into the butch of it all, what qualifies someone as the badass of the week to you, or just a badass? I mean, you wrote the book about it, literally. So tell us.
That was really a weird thing with this. So, with Badass of the Week, I take a historical figure who is badass and I tell their story and I try to tell it relatively succinctly. I always joke that it's like the good parts of history, just like the sex, drugs, murder, killing, mayhem, destruction, all that stuff. But I'd been doing the website for years and I wrote the book and I sent it out. And my editor was like, okay, cool. This is great. But you need an intro chapter where you define badass and what does that mean? And then I was just sitting there and I was like, I don't know. It's like, it when you see it, I guess. So I had to really sit down and think about it because you get characters like a Joan of Arc, who was a Roman Catholic saint. And then you have Genghis Khan, who was like a mass murdering maniac. What do these people have in common? What does, Leonidas have in common with Nikola Tesla? Why are they all badass? And so the thing that was the hardest part of the whole book was coming up with this chapter. And it was the last thing I wrote. And it was like, okay, I think what kind of sets people off is their determination and their perseverance. Like, doesn't really matter what you're trying to accomplish, because badass does not necessarily always mean like good person with like well-adjusted life who is doing heroic things. But whatever they're going for it all out and they don't give up. And I think that kind of sums it up. And I do think that sums up Butch a little bit too.
Yeah, I think it does. What's interesting to me I remember like work-wise, even like years ago, all of a sudden we started using badass as definitely a positive. Like, yes. I don't know if you looked into the history of it, but it feels like, I assume for a long time, badass was just a negative. It was like, oh, they're a badass, watch out for them. And at a certain point it became like, pretty badass. Like, impressive. Impressive.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of words that we use that could be construed as poorly if we really thought about them. So yeah, people will say that. We're like, he's not badass. He was evil. He was a maniac. I was like, I don't know, man. He's still badass. He's still
a badass maniac. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Can someone be a monster and a badass? That's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and I think yes, if you skew, what you're just saying, your take on badass, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the only way you can really define it, because there's just some of these stories where you hear them and you're like, I don't know what these guys have in common, but it's that. It's just like, and that's kind of the lesson that we want to tell through the podcast is we'll tell a story and then at the end it's like, okay, well, what lesson can we learn from this person that will help us? This guy, whatever, fought his way through like 15 foxholes in World War II. Maybe I can finish that email I've been procrastinating on.
Right.
Inspiring.
Yeah. Yes.
Nice. So we know you've covered other Wild West badasses like Doc Holliday. I wish I was wearing, I regret not wearing my Tombstone Val Kilmer shirt right now, but I thought I was going to change. And then other people like Andy Oakley and Bass Reeves. So what makes Butch unique?
I didn't even think about like what I was wearing. I'm wearing like a volleyball T-shirt because I was like, I don't do. I haven't.
You didn't dress as a full cowboy for this? How dare you?
So it's like, I'm only audio. So you're right. So we did Annie Oakley, we did Bass Reeves. There's so many good Wild West badasses. But one thing that kind of sets Butch apart from the others is that he is he's a super successful bank robber, super successful thief, but in a lot of these stories, you get a Billy the Kid or a Jesse James, and they roll up into town, they blast their way through the bank, they rob everything, they shoot their way out, and when they leave, there's bodies everywhere, which is, when you think about Old West movies, that's it. My kid is like 5, and he's like, I like cowboys. I want to see cowboy stuff. And I'm like, I can't think of too many cowboy movies where they're not just blowing each other away the whole movie. Mm-hmm. But Butch is able to do this without killing anybody. And that's kind of why I think he's a great for your show, too, because he's not fighting his way out of town. He is very, very clever in the way he does these things. And, the story about him goes that he didn't kill anybody during his entire career in the United States, which is kind of wild for a Wild West badass or outlaw.
Yeah, and I don't think most people realize that. Again, I think you think from watching Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, Butch is more gentlemanly. He's the planner, mm-hmm. and obviously he does eventually shoot someone in South America. And obviously, Sundance Kid is more the gun, mm-hmm. and he can go off in any moment. But I don't think people truly realize that was his whole career and how it really played out. So
yeah, they called him the gentleman bandit. They called him the gentleman bandit because he just wasn't. He was like, give me the money, drop them sacks, right?
Drop them sacks. That's right. And the fact that that's still a badass. badass, right? Because obviously he's a badass at what he did. Look how successful he was, how much he stole, how he got away, how he rode his horse and then got off his horse and rode off the next horse. And then, how he planned everything. I mean, they're badass moves despite being the one who killed 20 people in the Battle of the OK Corral. I made up that number.
Exactly. He doesn't he's doing all of this stuff. He's like the most wanted person in America. He's super famous during his lifetime. He's got people coming from all over the place trying to hunt him down, like bounty hunters and Pinkertons and all this other stuff. Everybody's coming for him. They can't find him. They can't get him. He's got this huge gang. He's making tons of money. He's he's like terrorizing the countryside and they can't stop him, but he's not doing it while leaving this big trail of corpses behind. And, when you talk about badass, usually on my show, there's a lot of death and mayhem and destruction. And so I think it's like an added degree of difficulty to be badass without having to, get into a gunfight.
Yeah.
Maybe the truest badass of all. Or not.
Yes.
I don't know. But maybe. Yes.
I would argue that not murdering is pretty badass.
Yes. Yeah. That's the official position of the show.
That's a low bar for badassery, is not committing murder. Yeah, pretty badass if you did never kill someone in your life. Well, thank you. I'm quite the badass.
That's not bad. Good work. Yeah. Good restraint.
And you mentioned Pinkertons. We're going to get to them in a minute. But before that, I know in our discussion, you talked about how Butch's father's loss in a land dispute was sort of a villain origin story for Butch. I like the way that you put it. How do you think that affected Butch's outlook and his approach? Because we touched on it, but I think not as deeply as you did when you and I spoke.
It's such an interesting thing about him because, a lot of people, what they know about him is the movie, right? And the movie's great. And it's definitely worth a watch. And it's amazing how many things they got right in that movie. But one thing they don't really talk about is, you don't think about Butch Cassidy as being like the oldest of, I think like 13 children to like a Mormon family in Utah, right? And apparently he was like pretty well-behaved kid, pretty good brother. And, this is hard life, right? This is the Wild West. And his dad was trying to make a living for him and his family, and he got screwed over by a neighbor who was really politically connected to politicians, to the rail barons and stuff like that. So he had money and he had political power, and they were able to kind of screw over this hardworking guy who had Butch's dad worked really hard his whole life, and then just to get it taken away, and there's a couple of directions you can go with that, but Butch's way that he went with that was like, okay, well, I'm going to take it away from those guys.
Yeah,
and
stick it to the man.
Right, exactly. It's like it's the Robin Hood story, right? I mean, this is everybody's the Robin Hood of something, but he's kind of the Robin Hood of the Wild West.
Yeah. I mean, when Jesse and I tell different heist stories, we sometimes talk about who was the victim here. Like, oh, they stole this, and obviously it's a priceless piece of art, and it can never be replicated. Or they did steal money from a cash depot, and is it the common man who it was stolen from, or is it just banks, et cetera, who probably have things for insurance? Who have
sure. I mean, he wasn't giving the money back to the poor; he was keeping it, so it was not a super Robin Hood story. But at least it's there's something. It's at least for my purposes of my show, it's much easier to like make a badass claim for somebody if they're like robbing like oil barons and rail barons and like big corporation, big faceless corporations. It's not quite the same if you're going like door to door, like knocking on doors and like shaking people upside down for their change.
Yeah, that's not as cool.
Yeah, that's not cool. No, don't do that.
Not cool at all. Yeah.
Let's go back into the Pinkertons. We didn't dive into the Pinkertons as much in our episode because we covered them in our Reno Gang episode, but they sent Charlie Siringo chasing after Butch. He was their best man. How does his badassery match up to Butch's?
So Charlie Siringo is interesting because he's like a cowboy Pinkerton. So, you see the Pinkertons, they're like the bad guys in every Wild West movie. And for the most part, they're just trying to like literally just catch murderers and bank robbers. It's so funny because they're like, because they're basically like a private military corporation, right? They're a PMC. And so like nobody likes them. They're always the bad guys and everything. But really they're like, their job is to find murderers and bank robbers and outlaws and bad guys, but it's just bad PR or something. I don't know. But Siringo is an interesting guy because they called him like the cowboy detective because he had originally been a cowboy and he kind of knew that terrain really well. A lot of these guys had been police officers first and largely in like big cities. So this guy could ride, he could shoot, he knew the cowboy slang so he didn't stick out like a cop everywhere he went. And so what he starts doing is, they can't find They can't find the hole in the wall gang. They can't find Butch, but they are like, okay, we need to. He's just like, I'm going to go undercover. I'm going to pretend I'm an outlaw that wants to join their gang, and I'm going to ask around until I find somebody that points me in the direction of this hole in the wall settlement, so that I can tell everybody where it is. And that's badass, right? This guy goes on; he has a really successful career. He catches a lot of outlaws. He's kind of the antagonist of this story, but he's a really interesting character, and just kind of to be able to infiltrate and go undercover. Going undercover in a gang of like Jesse James outlaws is extremely dangerous work, and you have to be very brave to do it.
It's pretty badass. That's really cool.
You might as well, you think about those cops those ATF agents that go undercover with like the Hells Angels or something. Like that's what this guy's doing, right? They will shoot you if they think you're a cop.
Oh yeah, or any of that mob stuff, the Downey Brasco stuff. Yeah, it sounds terrifying.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And ultimately successful, Siringo. It's like they chase him all the way to South America and chase him out of Argentina. He gets his man, even though, again, pop culture, et cetera. And like you said, why are the Pinkertons always the bad guys? I think because there's books written about Sundance and Butch and Billy the Kid. Like these are these with dime store novels, whatever they're called, that make them almost heroic despite doing pretty awful things a lot of times.
It's a pretty funny thing. So like my wife is Brazilian, and we go down there sometimes to spend time with her family. And remember her dad asked me one time, he was like, why do you guys like pirates so much? Why do you think pirates are cool? Because they were just murderers and killers and robbers who just like attacked people who were just doing their jobs and like plundered all of this money and whatever. Like, why do you romanticize these guys? It doesn't make sense to us. And I was like, I guess if you were like a South American citizen, it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense to like romanticize pirates killing all Spanish sailors and robbing them.
I mean, Captain Hook was the bad guy, right? It's almost it's this like Darth Vader effect. I know this predates Darth Vader, but it's like Darth Vader's the bad guy, but he's pretty cool. That's a nice suit you're in. It's a great voice you got. I kind of want to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the fun thing with Badass. When you talked about like, are the good guys or bad guys? We can do both. That's like we have that leverage now. I could do an episode. I could do next week. I could do Charlie Siringo as the Badass of the week.
That's right.
That's really nice,
you flip it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And then, similar to the Pinkertons, Jesse and I did skip over a bit how they were really model citizens in Argentina for some time. And the Pinkertons, Charlie, never chased them to Argentina. I don't know. Do you think Butch would have stayed retared? It was a good life there. Could he have kept it up? The three of them with Etta.
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny because we kind of talked about it when you were on Badass too. And they skip over it in the movie because it's not like cinematic because they get chased out. So Siringo is part of the crew that chases them out of the U.S., but he doesn't follow them to Argentina. A different guy goes down to Argentina to get them. So they go down to Argentina, and it's Butch and it's Sundance and it's at a place. And so they're down there. They have a ton of money. They had this huge payday. They cashed out. They spend this weekend in New York City. They sail down to Argentina. They buy a little farm out there. They're raising animals. They live there for like 4 years. And apparently, like, not only do they not kill anybody or rob anybody, they are kind of, they become friends with like the local mayor, and they get involved with like local, they have friends and stuff come over to their house for parties and things, which is, you said, it's not very cinematic when you're doing a movie about outlaws, but like, I feel like this is kind of nice. The Argentinians, South America has a big gaucho culture. So they were doing like riding out on the plains, horseback. It was kind of what the Wild West had been. By the time they're going, we're in the later days of the cowboy era. But the Argentinian culture at that point is like much more like the earlier days of the Old West. And so they were like, we're kind of like back here. We're doing cowboy stuff. This is great. We're super rich because we robbed all these banks and all these trains and everything, and our money's going to go a long way. And they were going to stick around. I mean, who knows, right? They don't have anything else on their resume other than robbing banks. So like maybe eventually that's what they end up doing. But what happens is the Pinkertons send a guy down there, and they start distributing photographs of Butch and Sundance, and then the law is like, okay, these guys are a problem. We got to keep an eye on them, blah blah blah. And now you're in a situation where they got to go. Like the heat gets too much, and they start not being allowed to go places, and now they've got to go on the run again. Which, I don't know. Maybe they would have stayed. I like to think they would have, but. There's the theory. I don't know if you guys talked about this the theory that Butch is still alive or didn't die in Bolivia.
Yes.
So if that's if that is true, then he did manage to live for the rest of his life without killing anybody or robbing any banks that we know. So maybe he's capable of it.
Because in Bolivia, they definitely need the money, and that's why they started robbing again. But it also makes you think about this adversarial relationship. It's like once the cops show up, all of a sudden they're reminded we are the bad guys and we do bad guy things. So once they're not being chased, they're actually allowed to be themselves and live a normal life. And
Right. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, there's a story. There was a guy who he'd earned a medal for like fighting with the Marine Corps in the Chosin Reservoir in the Korea War. And he gets back home afterwards and he goes down to the end of the block. He's like, I came back from this war and I didn't have a job. I didn't know what to do. So I went down to the shoe store at the end of the street. And the guy, I was like, I need a job. And the guy that worked there was like, what are your qualifications? He was like, well, I was a Marine for 15 years. So I can shine shoes and I can kill people. And the guy's like, all right, when can you start? So, I mean, that's the Butch thing too, where like, if you did end up needing money, that's your skill set. I don't know. Although everybody seemed to like him. He was charismatic enough. I feel like he could have pulled this off.
Yeah, I want to ask about that. Robbing a company's bankroll might seem a bit antithetical to his only stealing from the big guys. Do you think Butch's Robin Hood persona is overly romanticized?
Well, so I think my understanding of this, because yes, he robs money that's going to banks. He's robbing payrolls. So like, you paid people in cash back then, and that cash had to be transported in a wagon, and you could just rob that wagon and take all that cash. And so, I can see the like, well, now that money is not going to go to those hardworking people who worked for it. But my understanding of this is that the company owes those people that money. And if Butch steals the money from their wagon, that's their fault, not the people. Like, those people are still going to get paid. The bank just has to come up with more, or the company just has to come up with more cash to give those people because it owes them that money. And so that money just doesn't disappear. It cuts into the bonus. It cuts into the CEO's bonus more than it cuts into like the regular working person.
Does Butch know that though? Does Butch know the details enough to know like, I am taking their payroll, but they'll still get paid. It'll be okay. Or he's just, I don't know, desperate for cash.
I don't know. I'm not up to date on the history of the FDIC.
It's okay.
But
I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that.
Like, insurance will pay for this. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah. Guys, let me explain how insurance works to you. Yeah. Thank you, Butch.
No, he, probably would have known that at the time, right? Like, I feel like that would have, when your job is to rob banks and payrolls, you probably have some basic understanding of how that works.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome to talk to you. I could talk to Butch all day. I will say, this is not a planned question, but I do wonder for each of the three of us whether we think Butch and Sundance actually did survive the gunfight. Do we think that, could the rumors be true? Jesse, do you have thoughts?
I really want them to be true because there's so many like fake your own death conspiracy theories, and it would be so cool if one of them was actually real. Like, I would love in my lifetime when I'm like old, like, oh my gosh, this guy actually was alive for the last 40 years. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. That'd be so awesome in the pop culture universe. So I love that to be true. And the way his family talks about it, it's kind of believable. I don't really know if it's... But I'd like to think that he is, or was. It's probably not.
He's probably not anymore. Even if he was, it's not anymore. Good point.
He's alive and immortal. Turns out, yeah.
And he's our next guest. Here he comes.
Yeah, oh my God! You're our first guest. Butch is our second. We're gonna call him Robert. We can't call him Butch. We're calling him Robert.
Yeah. It's funny.
I don't know. I'd like to believe it. That's like one of the fun things about history. The fun things with doing these stories is that, like, especially when you start going. When you start going into the past, it's really hard to prove anything. Even nowadays, we have a hard time proving anything. We can't agree on what's happening in the world right now, and when we have HD video of it. So, that's kind of one of the kind of touches on an interesting thing with history where people will be like, well, you told this story, but I don't think that story's true. And it's like, cool. It's the only version of the story that we have, and it's awesome. So let's go with it because it's impossible to know these things, right? I do talks at schools about history stuff, and one of the things I say is like, let's imagine that the three of us get into an argument right now, and we're yelling and we're pissed off, and we storm off. I interview all three of us. I get a different version of the story of what happened, and then everybody watching this, we've got HD video, audio, everything. They're going to get a different impression because it's all filtered through us, and so that's kind of. History is not math. It's open for interpretation in a lot of cases, and so I generally with Badass, if there's a badass version of that story, that's the one that I want to tell. And so for Butch, It's that he got away and lived in Spokane or whatever.
Yeah, that is the badass version of the story, and immortality would be even more badass. That'd be the ultimate badass, and that's why he'll be our next guest. Yeah, I guess neither of us really have a clear answer, so I would just say exactly what you guys said, which is like, you want to believe, but do I actually believe it? I think I don't. I feel like I believe, although I not knowing them, the idea that they would shoot each other than shoot themselves, like that is for all the ways to go out, that's a very sad way to go out after they fought for so long to survive. But if you knew there was an army out there, I guess that's the better way to go. It's an intimate way to go. It's a more intimate way to go.
Yeah, and like even the intimate, the details of that are a little tricky too, right? Like, who knows? They didn't do forensic testing on those bodies, right? It was just like, we think that's what happened. Maybe they both got hit. Maybe they like.
There's no DNA evidence to prove any of it. So
without being in that room, you really can't be sure of any of this stuff. And there's not even pictures of the bodies or nothing. So
which feels for all the other pictures we see, that's a good point. In that you feel like normally, when someone like that is dead, you make sure you take pictures to prove to the world, like he's gone for good. We did it. We did our job.
It's funny because especially with this time period where the camera was invented, but it was one of those ones where you have to stand there for like, nobody smiles in those pictures because you have to stand still for like 2 minutes to get the picture taken. But there's some where like they would always do that. You see them, they're like in a coffin with a bullet hole in their head, and like that's the only picture we have of this guy. You want to know what Wild Bill Hook looked like? Here's his dead body.
Yeah. And they had to stand there for 2 minutes to get us that photo. So be thankful this photo exists. Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever happened, the myth lives on, and it's fun to believe the myth, and it helps keep the story alive today. So
that becomes the history. Like that becomes the history of these people,
it's
right?
true.
You have these stories about them that persist, and then that becomes history. That is now history, right?
I mean, especially the Wild West. I mean, that's just like it's a land of myth making, and it's fascinating. So I hope you do more, Ben. I don't think you haven't done Billy the Kid yet, right? You still
haven't done Billy Kid, haven't done James Gang, haven't done I did Doc Holliday, but there's so many. Like you could do this. I did one of my favorite from that time period was a woman named Stagecoach Mary. That's one of my favorite episodes. Stagecoach Mary is awesome. She was like a postal worker, but she had this kind of like running bet. She was a black woman in Montana in like the 1880s. And there was like two reasons, like because she was black and because she was a woman, she was not allowed to drink at the tavern, but she would sit there every single day, and she had this running bet. She would get there, she would drink, and she had this bet that for $2 she could knock out any man with one punch.
Oof.
And
wow.
She's awesome. She's great.
She sounds amazing. Well, listeners, I mean, go listen to Badass of the Week. Check out the Butch Cassidy episode, but also listen to the Stagecoach Mary episode. I clearly will be too.
Definitely recommended.
Ben, it's been a treat talking Butch with you. But please tell our listeners that where can they find Badass of the Week? When are new episodes released? All the details.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Badass of the Week, and just anywhere you have podcasts, wherever you guys are listening to this, just open up the search bar and type in Badass of the Week, and I should be there eventually. You should see me.
And is it new episodes every Tuesday? Is that right?
Every Tuesday. Yep. We do one every week.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, rate, review, download, do all those things. And Ben, thank you again for joining us. Listeners, go listen to Badass of the Week wherever you get your podcast. Ben, thanks again for being our first guest. This is super fun.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Good luck with the show, and I've been really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to listening to more of it.
Thank you so much. See you next week, Heist Club.
And tune in next week for Down Goes Frazier. Down Goes Frazier. Down Goes a Heist in Atlanta.
Heist Club is a production of School of Humans, hosted by me, Todd Weiser.
And me, Jesse Nicemonger. I do all the fancy audio and music editing too.
This episode was researched and produced by Carolyn Talmadge. Our senior producer is Amelia Brock.
Our production manager is Daisy Church. Our executive producers are Virginia Prescott, Brandon Barr, and Elsie Crowley.
Join us again next week for Heist Club, and don't forget to rate and review. Thanks.